All right. Good morning, everybody. This morning we're gonna be talking about the Alex Jones InfoWars auction. I've got an expert on the subject matter, a 4chan troll from way back.
Really?
Okay. Legion joins us this morning to discuss the auction of Alex Jones's entire life is essentially what's happening. So, Mario, can you kind of summarize the backstory here?
The backstory is the Sandy Hook Elementary in Connecticut. There was a mass shooting that took place there. Adam Lanza, I believe he killed like 20-something children. Right? It was a horrific act. One of the worst school shootings that we've ever seen, especially because it was elementary school children. It was like Uvalde tier awful. All right, and there were some like, weird circumstances surrounding it that Alex Jones picked up on. Like, why were the state police doing a drill that morning, okay, nearby, as in a practice for responding to a school shooting? You see that all the time. When 9/11 happened, the air traffic control were doing a nationwide exercise, right, on planes getting hijacked, right, at the same time that a plane was being hijacked. Disturbing coincidences that you see, if they are such. Anyway, so Alex Jones basically pointed at some of the aspects of Sandy Hook that didn't make sense. This was back in like 2015. He was doing this, and pointing out that it appeared that these people were crisis actors. All right, all of it, of course, protected by the First Amendment. But apparently, according to the Sandy Hook families, people were picking up on this and using it as an excuse to target them and harass them and, stalk them, make threats against them, all manner of nasty business, which, of course, Alex Jones never instructed people to do. And it ended up in civil court, because he couldn't be prosecuted under, like, what's the opposite of civil court?
Criminal court.
Criminal court, yeah. So there was no criminal case against him, and the FBI admitted as much. Remember, there was an O'Keefe expose of some homosexual from the CIA who openly admitted that they were passively targeting Alex Jones and allowing him to basically be ruined by civil cases, and providing information to that civil case to help get a conviction. Well, bottom line, Alex Jones was punished with a $1.5 billion settlement.
That's billion. This is
$1 billion.
This is the largest civil action against an individual citizen in history. At 1.5 billion in judgment.
In a case where the outcome was already pre-decided, and he wasn't able to defend himself or offer any counter argument or appeal for, his innocence. Right? It was already decided.
We've talked about this.
Pure kangaroo
We've talked
court.
about this a little bit in reference to the Donald Trump New York so-called fraud case, where basically Letitia James decided that fraud was committed by Donald Trump against several banks, but arguing that he misrepresented the value of certain properties, and all the banks came out and said, whoa. Not only did we not lose any money, not only are we not victims in this, but we do not want this case to go forward, precisely because we had such a great experience with Donald Trump, to whom we loaned a lot of money, and he paid it back. So we made a fortune. It was good business, and all of this was common business practice. we don't want to lose that. We don't lose that opportunity. It's not just that we're not victims. We explicitly do not want you to cost us this business, right? And in that case, just like in the Alex Jones case, many intelligent analysts have pointed at the Alex Jones case and said this was kind of a trial balloon to see if they could get away with it. In the Trump case, the judge determined it was a what do they call it, directed verdict. The judge determined without a jury trial that Trump was guilty of the fraud of which he was accused. So no evidence was ever adjudicated or considered. The judge determined, oh no, he's guilty, and then they bring in a jury.
That was the Engeron case. The Engeron case.
Correct. And then they bring in a jury and they make a big show of the trial, and they try so hard to hide the fact that the jury is not making a determination on whether or not Trump or Alex Jones are liable for the damages. It's not, and that's an important piece here. It's not crime; it's damages in a claim of civil action.
Yep.
And so isn't actually deliberating on that at all. The only thing the jury is there to do is to determine the size of the punishment, how much money they can rip out of this person.
Yep. Your fate is already decided. The trial is merely a formality to determine like how severely you get pounded out. Like
it's literally a show trial.
Yeah. So
I mean, by definition,
that's what's. So Alex Jones, according to sources, Alex Jones his lawyers only has $10 million worth of assets, so he can never repay $1.5 billion. Okay, but they already had him on a structured plan where basically in perpetuity, the Sandy Hook families would get a piece of whatever income Alex Jones makes, every month until he's paid off $1.5 billion, which would be, so about 10 lifetimes, worth of payments he has to make. So, but they were going to get money either way, and they would have gotten more money under this already agreed upon plan, like over time, than they would by just ransacking InfoWars and selling it off to the highest bidder. But it's not about the money. It's about unpersoning someone. Okay, in particular, it's about unpersoning someone who is in Trump's orbit prior to an election. So you see, this week the final ruination of Alex Jones. Unless an angel investor comes in and buys up InfoWars and saves it for him, which I hope someone does, a very particular someone. But you look at Steve Bannon is currently in jail, right, for defying a subpoena over January 6th. Peter Navarro just got out of jail for the same thing, refusing to show up for a subpoena.
But somehow Merrick Garland is not in jail for defying the subpoena and being in contempt of Congress.
Right. And Merrick
Nor is Eric Holder.
Yeah, Merrick Garland had the gall to actually come out this week and state that under no circumstances will the FBI be used for political purposes, which is a complete farce. It's literally all it's done this entire administration. But that's where we stand.
I might have to take umbrage with your statement there, Mario. The idea that the FBI has been a political weapon of the psychotic left for merely the period of this administration. I think it's pretty clear they were formed to be a weapon of the Democrat, and that's all they've ever been.
Yeah. There was always an aspect of inquisition to the FBI.
Exactly.
I mean, back to the Herbert Hoover days, who was keeping files on he basically had a dossier on anyone who was of importance, culturally or politically in the United States, and whatever particular kink they were into, whatever way they liked to get off, he had that all documented for control purposes. So, so basically that's where we are. Alex Jones no longer owns the company that is his life's work. It will be sold off, and Alex Jones, if he continues to broadcast, it's going to be on, at least someone else's program for the time being. And Alex Jones he's got about 20-something people who work for him as well, and those people, screw them, right? They don't need to work. They don't their families don't matter. Um, they're all out of a job too, and because of the way this settlement is. I'm not a lawyer. In fact, I'm a really bad amateur lawyer. I don't really understand the law, to be honest. But the way, but the way it works, it's all of his personal assets are subject to seizure. Okay, like meaning in theory, literally the clothes off his back. Alex Jones,
Right.
he could be stripped naked, spat upon, and thrown into the streets of Austin to live in a freaking tent camp down at the park. If they decide to really go through with everything that they could. The total and absolute ruination of a man is, that's what's occurring, and it's a disgrace. Alex Jones is a folk hero. You know what I mean? He truly is a man of the people, whether you like him or not. He's a showman. So I like Alex Jones. I've watched him on and off for probably like a decade.
So
that's where we are right now.
And the way the law works, the way the law works in a not, this isn't a settlement. This is a straight up judgment. And Patrick makes the comment, I hope Elon buys InfoWars. That would be amazing. It wouldn't. It would be amazing if it were possible for Elon to buy InfoWars and for that to settle everything and it be over. But the only way that could happen, Elon would have to buy InfoWars, make
for
Alex Jones the
$1.5
CEO,
billion,
and then pay back the rest of the right at that point $1.4 billion. Which now, in fairness, Elon could write that check, but essentially you need to understand that how it works is just like Mario was explaining, because this is a civil action involving the individual himself personally, not just his company. If someone else were to purchase InfoWars and keep it running under that name and trademark, right? See, the objective here is to destroy the intellectual property, right?
Yep.
But the intellectual property is necessarily the intellectual property of Alex Jones. So we'll get into that in just a little more in just a minute. Because of the nature of a judgment against an individual, so what's going to happen is they're going to break up InfoWars. They're going to sell off all the equipment. They're going to sell off the trademarks, the intellectual property, the servers. They're going to sell off everything like that, and it's going to amount to a value of somewhere between $10 and $20 million, depending on how the auction goes. And then once that's done, Alex Jones still owes the rest of the judgment legally. So if you take him and you put him as the CEO or even just an on-air personality at the newly acquired InfoWars on X, as it were, then the court gets to continue liquidating anything that he's attached to until the debt is settled.
If Alex Jones
mentions he's losing the trademark, and that's the other piece of the intellectual property piece that I was getting to. It's one of the big problems we have with China is, and many other hostile nations, is their absolute disregard for intellectual property. I need you guys to understand what intellectual property is. You have the right to the use and the disposition and disposal of your ideas, of your mind.
Yep.
Without safe intellectual property, without the concept of intellectual property, property itself ceases to exist. If you cannot own what you think, you cannot own anything. Because you have to understand the idea of property. Yeah, like this watch is property, right? It's my I own this. This is mine. Well, that's only conceptually true. If someone else walks by and picks up that watch and it disappears into the ether and I can never find it, then I can claim to own the watch, but I have just lost, no matter what the law thinks or what our opinion of it is. I can continue to claim to own the watch, which has gone missing, but I have just lost control of it. I no longer have the ability to determine the disposition, the disposal, the utilization of that property. And so, in a very real sense, it has ceased to be my property. What they seek to do here with InfoWars is similar to essentially reallocate the intellectual property into non-existence by making it such that not because intellectual property is ephemeral, if you cause a person to be unable safely, reasonably to dispose of their own intellectual property at will, then you have caused the intellectual property metaphysically to cease to exist.
Sergeant Major asks, when if he moves to Canada? That wouldn't be a good idea, Sergeant Major. They can put you in jail for life for any kind of like hate speech or hate crimes. So,
and they will, and
yeah, they would, they absolutely would. So,
and this event, this is not entirely unique to Alex Jones. Neither the unpersoning of Alex Jones, nor let's say this correctly, the offense of which he is accused. Right? Because let's not forget, we do, in theory, we're supposed to have protected free speech in this country. Now, like Mario mentioned, there are agents on record, FBI agents on record, who have talked about how they were kind of passively helping to push it along and make sure that Alex Jones lost his platform. The prosecutor in the case made it very clear it's not about the money; it's about shutting him up. And that's not even like, Jay Varma, we caught you on tape talking about your coke orgies. That was a public statement that the prosecutor made at a press conference on the topic. It was always about shutting him up. And the fact that we have the FBI involvement in it means that that's government agency. That is an agent of the government involved in the censorship and quietude of a private. Make no mistake, that the judgment was passed is the commission of a crime. Right? The judge and the FBI in this case are guilty of suppression of civil liberties under color of law. They have used the patina of authority to violate a citizen's First Amendment right. And that's it should be unheard of, but it's not. But at the same time, Kamala Harris, right? If what Alex Jones did was crime, or no, okay, let me back that up, because we already covered he wasn't convicted of a crime. He was judged in a civil action. If what Alex Jones did merits damage for cause and a civil action of any amount, let alone $1.5 billion, then think for a moment what Kamala Harris should owe to every American voter who's ever heard her repeat the very fine people hoax, the bleach hoax, right? Because that's a big part of the claim, is that Alex Jones caused damage to these families by saying words that were untrue. Okay, let me ask you about damage caused to families by the saying of words which are untrue. Joe Biden was the president of the United States at some point. I don't know who it is now. This is clearly not Joe. But
it's Blinken.
And Kamala Harris intends to be the president. So let's be very, very generous and say that she hasn't actually done the harm that her speech will cause until she's elected. let's be that generous. Okay, fine. March 1st, she's had time to get in the White House, right? Assuming she wins, she's had time to get in the White House and begin with the psychotic executive orders, like Obama did, like Biden did, and just start executive ordering their way all over the place to shut down everything. We should file a civil, a class action civil lawsuit as the American people. Oh, how many plaintiffs? 350 million. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kamala's up to her gills in the Jussie Smollett incident. The hate crime hoax, right? She's also could be found liable for the BLM 2020 during the riots. She was organizing donations to basically get people bailed out of
exactly.
prison.
In the BLM riot situation, she provided material support to a declared enemy of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's covered under Section 3 Article 3, Section 3. Mm-hmm. And then you've got people like Rachel Maddow. How many people are dead today? Are dead. Not lost a little money, not accidentally read some mean tweets on X or on Twitter at the time. How many people today are dead? Because Rachel Maddow told them, you can get the vaccine and it stops COVID. You will be 100% safe, protected, and unable to spread the disease.
Oh man, if you, I hope one day there are COVID prosecutions. Okay, because that alone would be enough to essentially overthrow the government. Basically, essentially revolution by reform, because thousands of people would be guilty. Okay, it would be, built all those FEMA camps for, might as well use those FEMA camps that were built. Throw them all in there, all of them, the entire COVID regime, including that.
Alex says Trump could sue her. He has that option, but she would owe him, not the American people. That's fair play. That's correct. But let's also be fair. The way Trump just hands out $100 bills at grocery stores, if Trump sues her, wins all her money, that's almost the same as paying it to the American people.
Yeah. But so,
in fact, it's better because then it becomes a tax-free gift.
So the enemies of free speech, okay, the federal government, they have, they discover a new way to legally destroy someone, not directly, but, passively by supporting a civil case, right? Just so you know, the federal government didn't do this to Alex Jones. It just passively stood by, assisted when it could, and, clapped as the proceedings
like the Butler PA
right?
shooting.
Right.
Like the Butler PA shooting. They didn't do it themselves. They just saw that it was happening and made it a point to stand by and let it.
So when the government finds a new way to destroy someone, do they usually put those tools away and not use them again? Of course not. They're going to do it again. Like you said, Alex Jones was the canary in the coal mine case, okay? Just how much you could unperson someone for speech. So people who might want to look out would be like Tucker Carlson could easily be next on the chopping block for unpersonage. He's no friends of the war machine in the U.S. government, in the MIC. He's critical of the Ukraine war. He's interviewed Putin. He's recently had people on his show, his podcast, who are delving into World War II revisionism, which unopens a huge can of worms. Okay, so I'd say they could do the same thing to Tucker Carlson. They could do the same thing to James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe is another person that would be a target, definitely a target.
I'm not sure that O'Keefe wasn't already a target. So what happened with O'Keefe?
He's been a target since the Obama administration. I mean,
yes, he has been. But here's the thing. Remember O'Keefe had Project Veritas, and the Project Veritas board got infected with sociopath leftists somehow. And you got to kind of shake your finger at O'Keefe for, how'd you let that happen to your company? But basically, leftists infected the company, the HR department, and the board, and and kicked him out of his own company. So he opened OMG, the O'Keefe Media Group, which is hilarious.
Mhm.
And of course, Project Veritas has just fallen apart since then. But
Yeah, deservedly.
it would be naive not to at least suspect that either the government was directly involved, or, and this is the more likely case, it's kind of like a Lois Lerner type of situation where the people that infected the HR department at Project Veritas were never given orders directly by Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or any one particular elected Democrat, but rather uh, those agents of the government created an environment in which the adherents of their sociopathic cult were able to say, huh, my preacher would like it if I brought him the head of his enemies. And so, that was Lois Lerner. Obama never told Lois Lerner, hey, I want you to go through these stacks of 501c3 applications and find all the ones that say Christian, conservative, uh, liberty, patriotism, all of them
Well,
that appear to be right leaning, and just make sure that you shuffle those to the bottom of the stack so they can't be processed before the election.
no
Right?
one
Obama never said that. He just said, someone rid me of this troublesome priest.
yeah, I was going to say, right. So, yeah. It'd be nice if Alex Jones could, do what James O'Keefe did, where basically, you destroyed my company, well, I'll turn around the next day and create the O'Keefe Media Group, which has been successful and which has broken a lot of stories that otherwise would not have been revealed. But the problem is, like, because of those settlements and they're still hanging over him, Alex Jones, if he couldn't cook, if he was cooking and serving French fries, like those wages would be garnished. Alex
They
Jones,
get a piece of that ass.
yeah, Alex Jones is not allowed to make a living. Alex Jones, somebody will have to rescue him. Okay, whether it's just a look, man. Well, I appreciate your life's work. I'm going to give you a stipend just to live on each month. But
now there is a way potentially. There is one way potentially that he could be rescued out through the auction, and that would be for somebody like Elon to come in and bid on the entire company and intentionally overbid. If Elon were to come in and say, "Hey, I would like to stroke a check for $2 billion," and he'd have to justify it. He'd have to make some claim. I'm sure he's got a lawyer that can pretty it up, but he'd have to make some claim like, the reason I'm bidding so high is that I really want to own this IP, and I don't want to leave room for someone to attempt to outbid me. And then there's enough from that to cover everything that Jones owes, and basically the rest of it goes into Jones's pocket, which means it goes into the InfoWars coffers, and that then he could, in theory, be free and clear.
he'd have to get signed like memorandums of understanding though from the Sandy Hook families, because there was nothing in the settlement that was reached that says that they couldn't come back later and basically not sue for more damages, but have a court decide on additional damages. Okay, so by purchasing InfoWars, it could be basically a poison pill in perpetuity. Just paying off the initial settlement could result in more. So the Sandy Hook people would have to agree with the sale, and that there would be no further attempts to like extort money from him.
Now, at the same time, to be clear, that was just a hypothetical. That's the one that's not going to happen that I can think of that would solve the situation. Thomas Waller points out Elon is not the piggy bank to solve Democrat overreach, and that is a fair statement.
Yep.
You look at Elon, and he's got that FU money and that FU attitude. I don't ever want to reach in anybody else's pocket to try and solve the problems. But I tell you what, as long as Elon is prepared to stroke checks to bring down the enemy, I'm happy to pop a bowl of popcorn and watch the show.
Yep. And the reason people get overly, there are a lot of Elon fanboys out there. Okay, people who are overly invested in kind of the man and what they think he means for politics. Okay, and I understand it because like we don't have anyone. You know what I mean?
Right. We don't have a George
We don't have any
Soros.
billionaires. We don't have any elites on our side, right? Not that Elon really is, but it's the closest thing to it. So, you know, I mean, that's why people, that's why people are over invested in it. I think just out of desperation. It's like when they release a movie that's supposed to be a conservative movie, supposed to have and it turns out it's weak, it's shitty, it's actually making fun. Okay, like people are like, well, that movie was red pilled. Well, no, it's not. The movie was actually mocking you. Okay, why are you excited about it? Well, because right wingers, conservatives, are so desperate for entertainment and for media that they settle for these half-hearted, backhanded gestures. That's
Yeah,
true.
like,
Xanderback point. Yeah, the Mug Club. Yeah, the Alex Jones is part of the Mug Club or whatever.
yeah.
Al Crowder's media project. I guess they could. I'm sure that there must have been something in the contract that was signed that explicitly stated that the whatever settlements are occurring over it, InfoWars would have no connection, no crossover to Mug Club. If he didn't, that would be incredibly foolish. I'm sure they did, though.
Yeah. I make that assumption. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I haven't bothered to read Alex Jones's contract with Mug Club, but I'm sure there's something in there to indemnify Crowder and his team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that's about all I had to say on the subject. You look at what's happening to Alex Jones and what's been done to several other people, like we said, O'Keefe, Carlson, etc. And the fact of the matter is that your government is an abusive boyfriend. It hates you, but it wants you to stick around because it needs someone to hurt. It cannot accept its own validation unless it has you around to hurt it. So
unpersoning is real.
It is. All right, brother. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in this one. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mario.
Ciao.
And we will talk to you again soon, brother. And guys, thanks for joining us. Yeah, that's about all I've got. But if you, and I know many of you are in Florida and Georgia, if you happen to be in the path of that hurricane, I'm in Georgia. I'm a little outside the path. I think I'm gonna be mostly okay. I mean, it's raining. I'm sure y'all can hear it. I can hear it over the monitor. But if it's coming at you, y'all be safe. Y'all be safe and keep your ears dry if you can. And we will see you tomorrow.